Hi everybody, it is Trixie Tutor here, and I am posting 2 times in a week. Little weird, I know, I haven't done that for years. However, it's kind of a special occasion because my last video that was on that whole little rant thing about the segment on the Today Show about Nefertiti, that got almost 130 views. It could be more by now, and then the likes-dislikes ratio, pretty dang good. Comments were lit. I'm never gonna use that. I mean, I use that word like a lot. I'm not gonna use it in a video again because I'm too old to be using that word, to be honest. This is not my generation. Talking about my generation. That's not my generation. Did not come up with that word. It's a generation after me. Anyway, in this History with Trixie video, we're going to be discussing Rameses II, also known as Rameses the Great, and Nefertari, not to be confused with Nefertiti. 2 different eras. Gonna give you a little insight to know how you can tell the difference. Amarna period with Akhenaten, which was the era that Nefertiti was in. The art depictions. Realistic, wrinkles in the face, long toes, elongated skulls, heads. More realistic compared to the Rameses the Great era, where the art depictions were like every art depiction that we see in ancient Egypt. Godlike features, nothing wrong, perfection, just like they wanted to be, because the pharaohs and the royal family were seen to be gods on earth. They were thought to be chosen by the gods to be the royal family in ancient Egypt. Just like the Pope is thought to be God on earth. There's that comparison for you. Rameses the Great and Nefertari are what many Egyptologists, I don't say like, are what? To me, they are ancient Egypt's relationship goals. And I'm going to delve into it now. I love how I see now and then I'm trying to like put an intro title. That's not going to happen. I'm not fancy enough for that yet. So, Rameses the Great and Nefertari were married when they were teenagers. Or at least that's what's believed. They were married before he came to the throne. So, more than likely, because we think he came to the throne when he was in his 20s, they were married as teenagers. They had about 5 children together. Amenhotep, which we will discuss later on in the video because that's a fun little story in and on its own. And Meritamen, Henutue. I'm gonna butcher some of these because some of these did not have little how to say this name cards on them when I was double researching the names of the children. Prehirwan Meth and Meret. 5 children together. We have, with those 5 children, Amenhotep was crown prince for the longest time. And again, we will discuss that later on because I'm going to repeat myself. It's a fun little story in and of itself. It's going to be interesting. Probably not really. It's really not all that. It's interesting, but it's not. They have his and her temples in Abu Simbel. That's pretty well known. But that is how devoted he was to her. Many queens don't get their own temple. Now, do they? He went there and he's like, I love you so much, you're going to get your own temple. It's gonna match mine. It's gonna be beautiful. I love you, girl. And she was probably like, ooh, I love you too, papa. A baby. You the greatest pharaoh ever. It's probably not how that happened at all. But Nefertari is also depicted in some of Rameses the Great's other temples and monuments, like Luxor and Thebes. Luxor in Thebes. Luxor. How? Again, I'm probably going to butcher some things, and I apologize. Nefertari is... I'm sorry, I keep looking over to check my notes to make sure that I'm not going to miss any pointers. We don't really know where Nefertari came from. She kind of just appeared out of the blue. She probably didn't. What I'm theorizing, I'm going to theorize something, is that she was a member of the royal family, but less or down, because we know that she was not a daughter of Seti I and Tuya. There are some people that think that she was the great granddaughter of Ai, who ruled after King Tut. And then there's me, who I honestly believe that theory. It makes sense. She's still of royalty, she's just lesser down. Rameses the Great was the son of Seti I and Tuya. He became Prince Regent. I can't remember the time frame. I should have wrote that down, and I don't want to pull out my phone to look at it. But he became Prince Regent. And during that time, I'm going to go through and hypothesize that he married Nefertari. They were married, like I said, they were married as teenagers. It was probably... We know for sure that it was like a great match between the two. Because they mixed well. She supported him during all his military campaigns. I mean, she gave him 5 children. She was there for the majority of his reign. When she died, he was heartbroken. So heartbroken. From what we see, the vast temple buildings that he had done in the past weren't as vast. He did minimal things here and there. He went through and he had other great wives, which is common, but you could tell just by the records of things that he was so distraught because, like I said, they were married as teenagers. She was there for the longest time, and that would affect somebody. Just like when, just like with Akhenaten, because he was surrounded by great women his entire reign. More than likely, when his minor wife Kia died, he was heartbroken. When his mother died, Queen T, when she died, heartbroken. When we don't know if Nefertiti died during his reign or after his reign, but if she did die during his reign, heartbroken. So you can see you can sense the impact that it had. Because if you think about it, in current times, when a husband or wife passes away, you're sad because you spent so many years together that form a lifetime together, and they're gone, and it fills that, and there's an empty space that's not going to get filled. But with the monuments that they made, or he made for her, like I said, depicted in Luxor, depicted in Thebes. But Abu Simbel is one of the greatest monumental structures besides the pyramids, Dihbari, and the Sphinx. I almost said the Great Sphinx. And the Sphinx of ancient Egypt. Why? Because it was the first monument that was carved entirely out of rock. And a fun fact, Mount Rushmore was based off of Abu Simbel. The designer got the idea from Abu Simbel. Another fun fact, due to rising water, the Nile rising, I'm going to just say rising waters because I don't know if it's actually the Nile or something, a subsidiary of it. Due to that water rising, they had to go through and move Abu Simbel back away from the water to go through and protect it. Abu Simbel also lies on the coast, or is pretty close to the coast between Egypt and Nubia, if I'm remembering correctly. So, again, great monumental structure with Abu Simbel. Twice a year, with, I think, at least Rameses' temple, if not both Rameses and Nefertari's temple, the sunset will go through and shine through the corridor back to the back wall where you can see Ramses sitting amongst the gods. Pretty cool. It's one thing that I want to see that so bad. If I ever win the lottery, my first thing, besides paying off debts that I have, is probably going to be going to Egypt. Because, oh my gosh. And I will probably not be back for months. Because I'm just going to bask in the experience. But, it's just, his Ramesses' monumental structures, they're just beautiful. They're exquisite. That is what a pharaoh does. Besides military campaigning, you make your presence in the world known. You make people intimidated by your structures. And even though it's probably a myth created by Merimta, that's what a pharaoh should do. The vast oomph of it. I mean, if you think about it as a visiting ruler from another country, and you're going to Egypt, and the first thing that you see going up the Nile is Abu Simbel, you're gonna get intimidated by its power, which was the point of it, to intimidate those coming to Egypt, saying, this is my land, try and fuck with me. Getting onto the Amenhotep story. Now, as I stated, he was the eldest son of Nefertari and Rameses the Great. It is rumored, and I say rumored because some scientists believe it, some scientists don't, that Rameses the Great was the pharaoh in the Bible. Reason being, because of Amenhotep. Now, in a documentary, which I'm going to go through and link at least a source for you to either rent it or buy it, depending on your interest, called Rameses, rather God or Man, which is narrated by the great Morgan Freeman, Dr. Kent Weeks, which is an Egyptologist, discovers a tomb in the Valley of the Kings. This tomb is known as King's Valley 5. In this tomb, there is a vast corridor of little chambers. You could tell it's just a royal tomb. And in this tomb, Rameses buried his sons, including what we think is Amenhotep. Now, in this documentary, they also go through and they do a facial reconstruction of Amenhotep. And this facial reconstruction, based off of the skull that they found, is of a male either in his early or late teens or early 20s. Based off of that information, they go through and they hypothesize that he wasn't killed by some mysterious force. That he either died in battle or just died at an early age. We don't know for sure his cause of death. Well, in the Bible, it's clearly stated that the Pharaoh's firstborn son dies. I am the type of person that I'm not going to go through and debate a biblical thing because it's the Bible. It's precious to a lot of people, and I'm not just going to knock it because, hey, you believe what you want to believe. Now, as an Egyptologist, I say an Egyptologist. I'm going to call myself an Egyptologist because I may not have a degree, but I am self-taught. And to be honest, I kind of know a little bit more than the Egyptologists. You don't spend 20 years without researching things that the Egyptologists don't even admit. And that was a little cocky of me. I apologize. They have a degree for it. I don't. So it's a compare and contrast kind of thing. You take it what you will. But I truly believe that he died in battle. That is what I think, because with that reconstruction, you can definitely see that he was of an older age. He didn't really die young. He died young, but not like freakishly young. He was old enough to go through and join his father in battles. He was old enough to possibly father children. We don't know if he actually fathered kids. It's hypothesized that he had one, but he was old enough to have died in battle. With all of that being said, I mean, you take it for what you will. Did he die by the wrath of God? Did he die by the hand of man? No one will truly know. However, I do also believe that Rameses was the pharaoh in the Exodus, because it's the time frame makes sense. Because with Merimta, there is a stele. I can't remember the pure title of it, but Merimta was the pharaoh that succeeded Rameses, and he was a son of Nefert, which was Rameses' secondary wife, I think. She was one of the secondary or minor wife. But there's a stele that was made in his reign, and it goes through and it says the Jews are something or other. Or the Israelites. Jews, Israelites, again, I can't fully remember because honestly, I'm still recovering from being sick and my brain's already going all over the place. Because as much as I adore talking about history, it makes my brain hurt trying to remember all of the information that I have stored over 20 years. But it goes through and it mentions the Jews. The Jewish people. The people of Israel. And I say the Jewish people. I don't mean to be religiously insensitive. Not the Jewish people. The Israelites. We're going to rephrase that. They're Israelites. I apologize. But it references the Israelites. And it mentions that they were in Egypt. And they did have a mass exodus out. Merimta is another subject that honestly I'm not going to really get into, because he only reigned for 3 years. There wasn't much that happened. However, in another video, I can't remember if I've talked about Cleopatra or not, but I might dive into a little bit on Cleopatra, and then I might dive into a little of her connections with ancient Rome and all this fun stuff. I don't know. I haven't decided. But that's basically everything that I had. I'm rechecking. Oh, I missed some information. I was just going to go through and I was just going to talk about their relationship, but now I'm going to dive into Rameses the Great a little bit more. So he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He had 7 consorts. The two of them would be, holy crap, that was not supposed to happen. 2 of them, as were already previously stated, Nefertari, and Esefnefret. Then we have Masofure, Merit Amen, which was a daughter of Nefertari. That's another fun thing about ancient Egypt. The incest is real. The incest is insane. Then we have Bintarath, again, another daughter. I think the daughter of Esefnefret, if not another minor wife. Betwai, another daughter, and then Henutmire, which is, depending on what you believe, could either be his sister or his daughter. He also, keeping on the children topic, could have fathered over 100 children. I mean, I'm not going to knock it, but if you think about it in today's standards, I don't know how the 19 kids and counting people can afford 19 kids. How the heck? And I know that they're the royal family, so their budget's a little bit bigger. But how the heck can you handle over 100? I'm not going to like I said, I'm not going to knock it, because that just says, okay, heirs and spares, heirs and spares, heirs and spares, which, if you don't know that phrase, heirs, which is, in those times, would be sons, and then another son. So, 1 son, 2 sons. A plethora of boys to take over the throne. Not knocking that, because, I mean, good for you. You made sure that you had somebody to take over the throne if you died. When you died. But, like I said, over 100. Over 100. 100. With 5 being with Nefertari, with Nefertari, and 5 or 6 being with Esefnefret. Where are all these other kids coming from? Minor wives, more than likely, that came out of, that aren't documented. But it's insane. His well-known monuments are Abu Simbel, Abydos, the Ramesseum, and then in Luxor and Thebes. He is famous for his military battles, which are, the ever-famous one is the Battle of Kadesh, which on one of his temples is a thing that is believed to be the world's first peace treaty. So that's another fun little fun fact. Ramesses had the first peace treaty. With all of that, Luxor and Karnak have Nefertari depicted in them. Wow, it took me this long to actually say Nefertari and Nefertiti. I'm not even trying to get them confused on purpose. I'm kind of tired. It's the sickness messing with me. And she is, as I stated beforehand, she is honored with her own temple at Abu Simbel. One of the first, honestly, I think that she's one of the only queens that has her own specific thing for her to be remembered by. So that is an all over the place history lesson for you. If you enjoyed it, press the like button. If you didn't enjoy it, leave some constructive criticism down in the comments, and I will read and respond to them, and try my best to remember the constructive criticism in the process for the next video. The next video that I'm possibly going to make is I'm going to see Avenged Sevenfold tomorrow night. I might go through and do a little road trip video. Featured in that will be one of my friends from work. I know her. She is a friend from work. I have yet to see that movie too. It's gonna be great. I have so many movies that I have yet to see. As I said, I'm gonna try and link the Rameses Wrath of God or a Man documentary in the description. I'm also going to go through and link another documentary, which is from the Greatest Pharaohs little series that was on TLC, not the band, the Learning Channel. That is how old I am, when the Learning Channel was actually about learning. I'm going to link that in the description as well. You can go through and you can watch that. It's an excellent, excellent documentary. Bob Breyer is the host. It was actually one of the first documentaries that I watched on Rameses the Great. Another fun fact. And that is basically everything. If I can find a documentary on Nefertari, I will link that in the description. I'm going to list the resources that I'm going to attempt to list the resources in my brain in the description. And as always, you are amazing. You are smart. You are beautiful. You are talented. Do not let anybody tell you any different. Whether you are gay, straight, bi, pan, asexual, transgender, transsexual, any member of the LGBT community, any ally of the LGBT community, you are perfect. Just the way you are. I will see you guys as soon as possible. I hope you guys are having a great February. And stay you. Bye, guys.